Hi John, hey Jaguars, this is Miss Schooler, and this week we're going to be beginning a new chapter book, a smaller chapter book, and it's called Hero Dog, and it is by Hildy Lysiak, and it is part of a series, and the series is called Hildy Cracks the Case because Hildy is a reporter. She has her own little neighborhood newspaper, and she investigates. And that's what this story is about. There's a mystery going on in her neighborhood, and she's going to get to the bottom of it and then report it in her newsletter. There are illustrations, but I won't be showing you very many of those. And we will be reading more than one chapter a day. And this is published by Scholastic, and we thank them for allowing us to read this on our YouTube. Now this, I hope you can see it closely, this is a map of her neighborhood. And so we'll be referring to that. You can see that there's the police station, Mrs. Taggart's house, Miss McIntosh's house, and Mrs. Hooper's house. And this is Orange Street, Market Street, 8th Street. This is Selinsgrove. So we'll be referring back to this as she moves around her neighborhood. Introduction. Hi, my name is Hildy. It rhymes with Bildy. I may be only 9 years old, but I am a serious reporter. I learned all about newspapers from my dad. He used to be a reporter in New York City. I loved going with him to the scene of the crime. Each story was a puzzle. To put the pieces together, we had to answer 6 questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And then we'd solve the mystery. I knew right away I wanted to be a reporter. But I also knew that no big newspaper was going to hire a kid. Did I let that stop me? Not a chance. That's why I created a paper for my hometown, the Orange Street News. Now, all I needed were stories that would make people want to read my paper. I wasn't going to find those sitting at home. Being a reporter means going out and hunting down the news, and there's no telling where a story will take me. Now, she also gives us her reporter's toolbox. And these are special vocabulary words, and they're defined here. We have a confession, confirm, deadline, exclusive, investigate, notepad, press pass, source, tip, and witness. And so I'm going to read those definitions to you, and then as those words occur in the early part of the story, I may read the definition again. Confession is when someone finally admits what he or she did. Confirm, that means to make sure information is correct. Deadline, time or date a story is due. Exclusive, a story only one reporter is covering. Investigate, to dig deeper into a story. Notepad, where a reporter keeps clues, quotes, and important notes. Press pass, a photo ID worn by reporters. Source, a person who gives information to a reporter. Tip, a new bit of information about a story. And witness, a person who sees something happen. So she keeps her clues and her notes in a notebook. So what I have created on this board over here is a giant notebook. And we can see that we have who, which is way over there, who, what, and then below what, you can't see it right here, is where and when, and then note and clues. So as she comes across these things that she's writing in her notebook, we'll put them up there, and at the end of each video episode, we will review and see if you can figure out the who did it, same as Hildy. Maybe you'll figure it out before Hildy, looking at all her clues. Chapter 1 is called Break-In on Orange. There I was, standing outside the Selinsgrove police station in the pouring rain. I needed to get inside, but the door was locked shut. I needed information fast. So she is at the police station. I'm looking to see. It doesn't. Oh, number 1. So on this map, she is right here. Number 1, remember, was the police station. So she's right there at number 1. I rang the buzzer and waited. I rang it again, but the police were still not answering. I had gotten a tip that someone broke into a home on Orange Street. Orange Street didn't happen to be just any street. It was the street my family called home. I needed to investigate right away. I had hardly noticed the heavy rain during the 4-block ride from my house to the police station. I had other things on my mind. Who, what, when, where, why, how. I knew when the break-in happened. Early morning. Oh, so we better put that in our notebook. So, early morning. So that's what we'll put up here underneath when. But I needed a lot more answers if I wanted to have a story fit for the Orange Street News. The question right now was, where? Where did the break-in happen? As soon as I found out which house was broken into, I would call my older sister, photographer Izzy, to take pictures. The clock was ticking and I was on deadline. Remember deadlines when she has to have it due. My story had to be posted online by 6 p.m. today. I checked my phone. It was 12:30 p.m. My hands felt cold. My socks felt squishy. I rang the buzzer again. Tick, tock, tick, tock. A tall police officer answered. Finally! Now we're on chapter 2. Managers. The police officer peeked his head out the door, careful not to get wet. My heart sank. I remembered this guy, Officer Wentworth. He was never helpful. Hi, I'm Hildy from the Orange Street News, I said, pulling out my notepad. Could you please give me the address of this morning's break-in on Orange Street? The officer sighed. It's an open investigation. That's police talk for, I'm not telling you anything. But the people of Selinsgrove have a right to know, I said. We aren't giving the address out to the press, he said, before closing the door. I just have to uncover the address myself. Time to start knocking on doors. If a reporter knocks on enough doors, answers are bound to follow. I slung my tote bag over my handlebars and sloshed through a puddle. I was about to make a right onto Orange Street when I slammed on my brakes. It was the managers, Donnie, Leon, and Maddie, teenagers with rotten attitudes. I pulled up a safe distance away. That way I could skip all the teasing, especially their favorite. Hey, Hildy, how's your cute little baby paper? I hated when people made fun of the Orange Street News. It isn't cute. It's a serious newspaper, and serious reporters always need to make sure they aren't missing out on a story. So I began eavesdropping. The managers were talking about a band coming to town. I've heard noise pollution concerts are epic, said Donnie. All 3 of us are totally going, said Maddie. I've seen a few noise pollution music videos. The band is just a bunch of angry grown-ups screaming into a microphone. Well, the tickets are $250, I overheard Leon say. Then he spotted me. and shot a stink eye my way. I pedaled right out of there. This didn't sound like a story anyway. I pulled up to the first house on Orange Street, climbed the stairs, and knocked. An old lady spoke through a crack in the door. "Hello?" Her blue robe and curly gray hair reminded me of Grammy. I cleared the strands of wet hair out of my eyes. "Hi, I'm Hildy from the Orange Street News," I began. She smiled. "Hello, Hildy. I'm Mrs. Taggart. What can I do for you?" "I was wondering if you know anything about the break-in that happened on your street," I said. "Oh, I heard about that," she said, rubbing her chin. "But I don't know anything." "Are you sure?" I asked. "Any information might help." Just as I was about to put my notepad away, Mrs. Taggart began talking. "Well, I did hear some noises." My ears perked up. So let's look real quick back at the map and see where she is. She is at Mrs. Taggart's house. So that is right here. So she was at the police station, so now she's gone up here. And this, remember, is Orange Street. So she had gone up and around. Chapter 3 is called Squawk, Squawk. Mrs. Taggart opened the door wider. She looked at me. "You're soaking wet. Are you trying to catch up?" She meant well, but I had important work to do. It was 1 p.m. and I still hadn't discovered the address of the crime. I had to interrupt her. "I'll make sure to dry off soon. Now, could you please tell me about the noises you heard?" I asked. Mrs. Taggart pointed across the street. "I heard those awful chickens. They were making a ruckus." "Chickens?" I repeated. This tip didn't sound helpful. It sounded too weird to be true. But sometimes the truth is super weird, so I needed to investigate every clue. "Chickens," the old lady repeated. "Roy McIntosh has a bunch of those dirty creatures penned up behind his house. Their squawking woke me up when it was still dark out." I jotted a note in my pad. When, early morning, still dark out. We already put that one in our notebook. Where, Mrs. McIntosh's house. So I'm going to put that up. Mrs. McIntosh's house. I'll put that under where. Note, maybe the chickens were squawking because the thief was nearby. Oh, so let's put this. Maybe the chickens were squawking because the thief was nearby under note. This is all in our notebook. "Anything else you remember?" I asked. "No," she said. "Oh, I have a cherry crumb pie I need to take out of the oven." I caught a whiff of the pie. I could almost taste the warm sugar crumb topping. "Wait a minute," I said. "Are you the Mrs. Taggart whose pie won last year's Bake-Off Bonanza?" I remembered writing a story about the contest. The Bake-Off Bonanza was one of Selengrove's biggest events. The contest included pies, cookies, cupcakes, and other sweets. This year's contest was later today. Mrs. Taggart smiled. "Yes, that's me. I'm hoping my pie will win again this year," she said. "Would you actually like to come in for a snack? I have oatmeal raisin cookies cooling off." I loved all cookies, but oatmeal raisin cookies were my absolute favorite, next to chocolate chip and snickerdoodle and peanut butter blossoms. But I had a mystery to solve. "Thank you, but I have to go," I said. "Take care, dear," Mrs. Taggart said, closing the door. "This thief could be dangerous." The rain had stopped and sunlight pushed through the clouds. So I'm going to stop there, and then we will continue in the next episode. I just want to really give you a quick look at our notebook. So we have a note here, we have when it happened, and then we have where Mrs. McIntosh. That should be Mrs. Taggart's house, not Mrs. McIntosh. Mr. McIntosh's house. I'll have to change that one. And I'll see you next time.